So there's been a video going viral lately in the baseball world of a 16-year-old throwing 102 miles an hour. His name is Raudy Abreu, and he signed with the Atlanta Braves for $1.8 million. And the reason I bring this up is because, first off, it had hundreds of millions of views on social media lately in the past month or two. And everyone thinks that he's not 16 years old. And I think that's a big reason why it got so viral, because he's a massive human being. He's 6'3", 210 pounds, just flicking 100 plus whenever he wants. And I thought, first, we got to showcase that. And then it gave me a great idea to go through all the different high school players that have ever thrown 100 plus miles an hour coming out of high school. So today we're going to dive into that, as well as take a look at this guy, Raudy, and see what he's all about. So first up, here's a look at Raudy Abreu. I mean, it's pretty electric stuff. It looks like he's not even trying, and it's just coming out 100 plus every time. Super simple, clean mechanics. Just a big human coming at you with a lot of force, and that's pretty much how he's generating all this power. Bang. And look at some of the data here. 6'4", sat 96, 99, touched 100. The two-seam shape, that's pretty low, I think. Vert wasn't great, but he's throwing it from a 5-1 release because he gets so deep into his legs that it's like a unique look for a pitcher. And then obviously, is he 16 or is he 16? So a lot of people are saying that, and I think that's a big reason why I went so viral. But clearly one of the fastest throwing high schoolers of all time, 102 at 16 years old. That's unheard of. Only a couple years ago, one of the guys we're going to dive into was the first 16-year-old ever to throw 100 miles an hour. So let's get into it. The first one I want to get into today is Chase Petty. So, I mean, we'll let this thing roll. This is probably the most electric bullpen you'll ever see from a high school pitcher ever. He's throwing live ABs, just pumping 100 in there every throw. He was a highly touted prospect out of New Jersey in the 2021 draft class. Ended up going first round to the Minnesota Twins, and then later got traded in a 1-1 trade for Sonny Gray. So now he's in the Reds organization. He's probably going to make his debut this year. We'll take a look at his stats in a minute after we watch this. It's just probably one of the most electric arms in the last 20 years. Chase Petty. It's not even a question at this point. So that's the video. And then just take a look at all these pitches on the TrackMan data. It's ridiculous. 100, 100, 101, 101.8, 101.9. He's just pumping 102 in there. He had another game during the season where he, I believe, hit 102. So it wasn't just like a fluke thing. Like, this was what he was doing every time he threw. He was the number 1 player in the state of New Jersey, number 2 pitcher in the nation, 9 overall ranking in the nation. He was committed to Florida. Just lightning arm. PG grade was a 10, and like I said, first round to the Twins. First ever player to register 100 miles an hour at a perfect game event as well. So he's just one of the most premier flamethrowers of all time. Looking at his stats from the last couple of years in the minors, he's got a 3.44 ERA. He's got 67 starts, 300 innings, 298 Ks. His velocity dipped a little bit, and I think that was a big reason why his K rate is a little below 1 right now. But his velocity is back on the rise, and I think he's going to be very, very good this year. Likely going to get his opportunity to make his big league debut, and I'm pretty confident it's going to be electric. He's got 4 or 5 pitch mix now. He's consistent 94, 98. He hit 100 last year again, first time since high school. I think he's going to have a breakout season, make that debut, and build from there. Next up, we have Chase Burns. So in high school, he hit 101 at a baseball All-American, or Baseball Factory. It's like an Under Armour sponsored company. This was at Lake Point in a tournament. He just randomly hits 100 on a Saturday morning, but this was ridiculous. Watch when they show the side angle. He's just all this power. bang. And obviously he went second overall in this most recent draft out of Wake Forest after 2 dominant seasons at Tennessee. Just look at those mechanics. So raw, but 100 miles an hour. And he's a big kid, 6'4", 210 pounds. He was actually heavier in high school. They had him cut weight, and the stats speak for themselves. Threw 100 innings last year, 2.70 ERA, 191 strikeouts in 100 innings. He's almost at a 2. He's up to like 102 now. Sits about 98. It's just ridiculous stuff. Out of high school, he was the #1 player in Tennessee, 5th overall in the nation. Committed to Tennessee, hit 99 at a perfect game event. Just ridiculous. Next up, we have Travis Sykora out of Texas. He threw really, really hard out of high school. I don't know if he topped above 100, but I know he hit 100 at least. And, I mean, it's just like a monster human being coming at you. 6'7". I think he's 230 pounds out of high school. I don't know what he weighs now. Let's take a look at his profile. Okay, so 6'6", 232 at the moment. He had a crazy season last year. 2.33 ERA, 85 innings, 129 Ks, and that's in minor league baseball. So this is a big prospect for the Nationals. He was a 3rd-round pick. I think they had some concerns about injury problems possibly down the line, and that's why he slipped in the draft. But obviously a premier talent who's been throwing 100 since he was born. 100 on perfect game. #1 player in Texas. #5 right-hand pitcher in the nation. He's going to be real deal for a long time if he continues the trend of what he had in the 2024 season. So next, we got Nazir Mule. Let me repronounce. Nazir Mule, apparently, is how you pronounce it. The first kid ever at 16 years old to throw 100 miles an hour, which is an impressive feat in itself. He is more, at that time in his life, he was more of like a thrower than a pitcher. He just could throw really hard, so he would step up on the mound and chuck. But now he's really turned into an actual pitcher. He's no longer a two-way. I would argue he was probably primarily a shortstop when he did this as a 16-year-old, which is just ridiculous. But if you look at his stats now in minor leagues, I mean, a 4.33 ERA. He had 52 innings, 43 strikeouts. I mean, overall, not like off the charts stuff, but he's certainly trending more towards being a pitcher. He only had 42 walks. And if you watched him in high school, he was pretty wild. He would just be like all stuffed, no command. I mean, let's see if we can watch this video here. He's certainly improved his off speeds a ton. I don't think his velocity is where it once was. I think he's probably sitting about 92 to 95-ish right now. But they're forcing him to pitch. They're not making him try to light up the radar. So that's the big difference I see with him. Out of high school, #1 player in New Jersey, right? And see how it says he was a shortstop? Like, I really do think he was primarily a shortstop and just happened to throw cheese on the mound, and they would have him step up there and get a couple outs. But another guy, 100 miles an hour on perfect game. #1 in the state, #4 in the nation. A really, really talented baseball player. The next guy is Seth Hernandez. He's one of the most premier high school arms I've ever seen. He hit 100 this past year. It's not even like he's really good. He's like generational type high school pitcher. I mean, some of the smoothest mechanics ever. 6'4", like a lean 200 pounds. Hits 100 miles an hour. Sits about 94, 98 whenever he wants. Has one of the best changeups you've ever seen from a prep arm. And then he has a decent slider to match. The changeup is just ridiculous. And I think that's a big reason why he's so highly touted. And it wouldn't shock me if he has a breakout high school season. He's going in the top 3 picks. I mean, if Jackson Jobe went #3, this guy definitely could go at least #3. Just such good movement patterns, great mechanics, and just throws diesel. I mean, watch this guy. So smooth, so effortless. Just 95 right there. This one, 96, right by you. It's just uber talented stuff. You put like 20 pounds on him, get him to like 6'4", 220. Try to make sure that he's staying in these patterns he's in already. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel with that guy. It's just have him focus on what he's already doing and don't change anything. Hit 98 at a perfect game event. Hit 100 at the area code games. They're not revealed yet because he hasn't been drafted, but he's number one overall, I think, as a prospect entirely for high school. Doesn't get better than him. Next, we have Miguel Sime from New York, so a New York guy. He touched 100 miles an hour at a perfect game event this past summer. Big dude. I believe let me check, 6'4", 235, so he's just a monster. Hit 100 miles an hour. Obviously, doesn't show the rankings. Definitely the best player in New York. Definitely the best pitcher in New York. I think Jaden Stroman's probably the number one player because he's that good. He'll definitely be a first rounder this year. But committed to LSU. Don't think he's going. Think he's going to get drafted top 3 rounds. He's got reliever risk for sure. Could be a big time closer, I think, in the future. But I mean, it's just pretty good slider, good fastball, monster human being. Just get him in there, get him throwing. See how effortless he can get to throwing 100 miles an hour, and he's going to do some big things. So that was my opinion on him. Really, really talented. And then now we're going to 2 of the most talented ones of anybody that's ever hit 100 miles an hour out of high school. We got Daniel Espino. A lot of people forget about this guy because he's been kind of injury ridden through his minor league career so far. But in the minors, he's been a starter, dominant almost any time he's on the field and healthy. He's been up to 103 as a starter. So it's just like, how the heck is this guy not in the MLB? But it's unfortunately because he keeps getting hurt. That's like slowing down his whole progress. If he was healthy, he'd be like a frontline 1-2 ace for the team. I mean, the stuff is undeniable. They've argued he definitely has an 80 grade fastball, but he may have such a good fastball that it's better than an 80. I know Pitching Ninja used to talk about how he had a 90 grade fastball. So ridiculous stuff. He has a 4-pitch mix, and let's take a look at some of the data here. I mean, like I said, they're talking about 90 grade fastball. Take a look at this. It's just floating at you. Slider. I don't know if it's his mechanics that make him break down, or it's just he's so uber talented. Like some of these like genetic freaks, their bodies literally can't keep up with what they're genetically capable of doing, and that's why they break down. I think he's more of that kind of person than it's mechanics, because his mechanics are really good. I just think, like you see it with DeGrom, you see it with Mike Trout, like their genetics are so good and so talented that their body just can't hold up and match what they're capable of. So I think he's sort of like that. Obviously, one of the most talented pitchers we've ever seen. You look at his stats and my minor league career, he hasn't pitched since 2022, but in his minor league career, he's got a 3.57 ERA, 133 innings, 221 strikeouts in 133 innings. What more do I need to say? And then last but not least, I'm going to make a video on this, so you're getting a sneak peek right now, but this is my prediction for NL Cy Young. Hunter Greene threw 102 out of high school and throws some of the most electric fastballs of all time. He's been up to 105 in the major leagues as a starter. I'd say if he's really commanding it, he's probably between 97 and 100 most starts. I think that's where he's going to hang out the rest of his career until he gets old. But this dude reminds me of like a modern day Nolan Ryan in a lot of ways. I think that he has the biggest ceiling of any major league pitcher. Made the All-Star game last year. I think, no doubt in my mind, he could be an NL Cy Young frontrunner. If Paul Skeens has a sophomore slump, this guy's on fire. That's my prediction. I think he's the NL Cy Young, no doubt. So, looking at him out of high school, he was the number one player in the nation, just across the board. He was drafted second overall by the Reds, still with the Reds, And I mean, he was up to 97 at a perfect game event. That following season, he hit 102 at his high school teams, like high school games right before the draft. And I remember reading all about that. And then you look at his stats from last year. He had a 2.75 ERA in the bigs, 150 innings, 169 strikeouts in those 150 innings. I mean, if he was just a little bit more on the innings, like got about 200 innings, I mean, he's right there in the conversation. I think he was voted 4th overall in the NL in Cy Young voting. So I'll go much more in depth on him for a video. But he's my prediction for NL Cy Young. You heard it here first. That's going to wrap up this video about talking about all the 100-mile-an-hour high school pitchers we've ever seen. There's a couple that I didn't mention, but I will mention in the future. And thank you for watching. Have a good one.